From compact pocket pistols to heavy service revolvers, this is the complete catalogue of every British pistol used in World War II. These weapons armed officers, tank crews, pilots, commandos, and resistance fighters across every front of the war. Let us start with the standard service sidearms that equipped the British Army. Standard service pistols and revolvers. WW2 Mk6. The WW2 Mk6 was the most iconic British sidearm of the entire war. This large revolver chambered the powerful 455 WW2 cartridge. British officers carried it across Europe, North Africa, and the Pacific Theatre. The weapon was issued mainly to officers, NCOs, and support troops who needed a reliable defensive weapon. It held 6 rounds and featured a top-rate design for quick reloading. The Mk6 was extremely reliable and could function in desert sand, jungle humidity, and Arctic cold. Its main weakness was significant weight and slow reload speed compared to automatic pistols. Despite being officially replaced, thousands remained in frontline service throughout the war. WW2 Mk4. The WW2 Mk4 became the most widely issued British service revolver during World War II. It was smaller and lighter than the Mk6, chambered in 38S and W instead of 4.55. The weapon was adopted in 1932 and became standard issue by 1939. British and Commonwealth officers used it on every front from Dunkirk to Burma. Tank crews particularly valued it for use inside cramped vehicles. Military police carried it for occupation duties across Europe. The Mk4 was extremely durable and required minimal maintenance in field conditions. Its only significant drawback was limited stopping power compared to larger caliber revolvers. Over 300,000 were produced during the war years. Enfield No. 2 Make 1. The Enfield No. 2 Make 1 was Britain's answer to the need for a simpler service revolver. It was designed to be cheaper to manufacture than the WW2 models. The weapon entered service in 1937 and was widely issued to British forces. It fired the same 38S and W ammunition as the WW2 Make 4. British troops used it in France, Greece, and the Middle East campaigns. The revolver featured a squared grip that some soldiers found less comfortable than the WW2. It was reliable in combat, but criticized for weak stopping power. The simplified design did make training new recruits faster and easier. Enfield No. 2 Mark I Star. This variant removed the single-action hammer spur entirely. British Ordnance decided double-action only firing would reduce training requirements. Tank crews and other confined space troops received this model to prevent snagging. The modification made the trigger pull heavier and less accurate. Soldiers generally disliked this change compared to the original model. It saw widespread use despite these complaints because production was already underway. The weapon remained reliable, even if it was slower to aim precisely. Many troops filed down the hammer to restore single-action capability against regulations. WW2 Mk5. The WW2 Mk5 was an intermediate model between the Mk4 and Mk6 designs. It remained in limited service during the early war years. Reserve units and home guard formations received these older revolvers. The weapon chambered the 455 WW2 cartridge like the Mk6. It was effective enough for guard duty and coastal defense roles. Most were gradually replaced by newer models as production increased. Some saw action during the 1940 crisis, when any weapon was desperately needed. The Mk5 proved that even older WW2 revolvers remained serviceable under pressure. WW2 Mk3. This revolver dated back to the First World War era. Some remained in British armories due to wartime shortages. Training units and home guard formations used them for basic instruction. The weapon was chambered in 38S and W ammunition. It was functionally adequate, but considered outdated by modern standards. Most stayed in Britain for rear area security duties. A few made it to combat zones when newer weapons were unavailable. The MiG-3 showed how Britain mobilized every available resource during the war. Smith & Wesson Victory Model. This American revolver was supplied through Lend-Lease agreements. It was essentially the Smith & Wesson military and police model rechambered for British ammunition. Over 60,000 were shipped to Britain, starting in 1940. British and Commonwealth troops used it extensively on all fronts. The weapon was extremely reliable and well regarded by soldiers. It featured better sights and smoother action than many British revolvers. Canadian and Australian forces also received large quantities. Many British officers preferred it over issue Enfields. The Victory model demonstrated crucial American support for British forces. Colt New Service. The Colt New Service revolver appeared in British service in small numbers. It was a large-frame American revolver, chambered in various calibers. Some were purchased before the war for evaluation purposes. Home Guard and training units used whatever examples were available. The weapon was powerful and well-made, but extremely heavy. It saw very limited frontline combat use. Most remained in Britain for coastal defense and police work. Its main contribution was filling gaps during the 1940 equipment crisis. WW2 Mk1. This early WW2 revolver was largely obsolete by World War II. A few remained in service due to severe shortages in 1940. It was used mainly by Home Guard units defending against potential invasion. The weapon functioned adequately for basic guard duties. It was gradually withdrawn as newer revolvers became available. Most soldiers who carried it hoped for replacement with modern weapons. Its presence showed how desperate Britain's situation was early in the war. WW2 Mk2. Similar to the Mk1, this revolver saw very limited wartime service. Reserve units and Home Guard formations received whatever was available. The weapon was old but still functional for defensive purposes. It rarely appeared on actual battlefronts. Most remained in Britain throughout the war. Soldiers considered it a last resort weapon when nothing better existed. The Mk2 served as emergency equipment during Britain's darkest hours. Automatic pistols in regular service. Browning High Power. The Browning High Power became one of the most important pistols used by British forces. It was designed by John Browning and produced by FN in Belgium. When Belgium fell, the British arranged production in Canada at John Inglis Company. The weapon held 13 rounds of 9mm ammunition, far more than any revolver. British commandos, airborne troops, and special units preferred it for its firepower. SAS and SOE operatives used it extensively in raids across Europe. The pistol was extremely reliable and accurate in combat conditions. Chinese nationalist forces also received large quantities through British channels. Over 150,000 were produced in Canada during the war, making it widely available. Colt M111. The Colt M111 was supplied to Britain through American military aid. It chambered the powerful 45 ACP cartridge with excellent stopping power. Royal Navy personnel and some commando units received this American pistol. British forces used it particularly in the Mediterranean and Pacific theaters. The weapon was proven in combat from World War I. Its only drawback was holding just 7 rounds compared to newer designs. Special forces valued its reliability in harsh jungle and desert conditions. Many British officers who used it preferred it to issue revolvers. The M1911 demonstrated the close cooperation between American and British forces. Smith & Wesson Model 191. This unique revolver was chambered for 45 ACP automatic pistol ammunition. It used half-moon clips to hold the rimless cartridges. Britain received some through wartime supply agreements with America. The weapon filled equipment gaps when standard pistols were unavailable. It performed reliably but was not preferred over purpose-built revolvers. Most went to training units and Home Guard formations. The unusual ammunition requirement limited its widespread adoption. It showed how Britain utilized whatever weapons were available during shortages. FN Model 1910. This small Belgian automatic pistol saw use with British intelligence services. It was compact enough to conceal easily under civilian clothing. RAF aircrew carried it as an emergency escape weapon. The pistol chambered 380 ACP or 32 ACP ammunition. Its small size made it popular for covert operations. SOE agents used it when operating behind enemy lines. The weapon lacked stopping power but was reliable. Many were captured from German forces who also used it extensively. Its main value was concealability rather than combat effectiveness. FN Model 1922. This pistol was an enlarged version of the FN 1910 design. It featured a longer barrel and better sights than its predecessor. British forces acquired it through various channels, including captured stocks. Intelligence officers and resistance liaisons used it in occupied Europe. The weapon was more effective than the smaller Model 1910. It held 8 rounds of 32 ACP ammunition. Belgian resistance fighters also used it extensively, with British support. The pistol was reliable and simple to maintain. Its widespread availability in Europe made it useful for covert operations. Colt Pocket Hammerless. This compact American pistol was used by British officers and agents. It was designed for easy concealment in pocket or shoulder holster. Intelligence services valued it for covert work. The weapon chambered 32 ACP or 380 ACP ammunition. It was extremely reliable despite its small size. RAF and Royal Navy officers sometimes purchased them privately. The pistol was accurate at close range, but unsuitable for extended combat. Its primary role was personal defense in emergency situations. Many remained in service throughout the entire war. Wedley and Scott's self-loading pistol. This British-made automatic pistol saw limited adoption by military forces. It was expensive to manufacture compared to revolvers. Royal Navy and Royal Air Force personnel received most examples produced. The weapon chambered 455 Webley ammunition in an automatic pistol. It was reliable, but never achieved widespread issue. Production was limited by Britain's focus on other weapons. Some officers purchased them privately before the war. The pistol worked well, but could not compete with mass-produced revolvers. It represented British attempts at automatic pistol development. Savage Model 1907. This American pocket pistol appeared in small numbers with British forces. It was used mainly in the early war period. Intelligence officers carried it for concealment purposes. The weapon chambered 32 ACP ammunition. It was reliable, but had limited magazine capacity. Most were quickly replaced by other designs. Its role in British service was minor and short-lived. The pistol showed how Britain gathered weapons from any available source. Mauser HSC. Captured and purchased examples served with British intelligence services. It was a compact German pistol valued for its quality. SOE agents operating in Europe used it to blend in. The weapon chambered 32 ACP ammunition. It was extremely well made and reliable. British forces captured large numbers after D-Day. Intelligence units found it useful because it was common in occupied Europe. Agents carrying it would not stand out if discovered. Its German origin actually made it more useful for covert operations. Astra 400. This Spanish automatic pistol was acquired in limited numbers by Britain. It was a large service pistol chambered for 9mm Largo ammunition. Some were used for training and guard duties. The weapon was powerful but extremely heavy. Its main drawback was limited availability of ammunition. Most remained in storage or secondary roles. Spanish neutrality made procurement difficult during the war. The Astra 400 filled minor gaps in British armament, but never became important. Pistols used by special forces and intelligence. Well-rod pistol. The well-rod was a specialized silent pistol developed specifically for assassinations. It was designed by SOE for covert operations behind enemy lines. The weapon was a bolt-action pistol with an integral suppressor. British commandos and resistance fighters used it to eliminate sentries silently. It chambered 32 ACP ammunition fired to a quiet barrel system. The suppressor was so effective that the action cycling was louder than the shot. Operatives used it throughout occupied Europe and Asia. Each shot required manually cycling the bolt. It was effective only at very close range, but perfect for its intended role. The well-rod remained classified long after the war ended. Delisle carbine pistol variant. Though primarily a carbine, some shortened versions served as large pistols. It was one of the quietest firearms ever developed. British commandos used it in night raids requiring absolute silence. The weapon fired 45 ACP subsonic ammunition. Its integrated suppressor made it nearly silent in operation. Special forces valued it for eliminating sentries without alerting others. The pistol variant was rare, with very limited production. Most operatives preferred the full carbine length for accuracy. It represented the peak of British silenced weapon development. Browning Model 1900. This early Browning automatic was used by British intelligence officers. It was small enough to hide in a pocket or handbag. The weapon chambered 32 ACP ammunition. SOE agents carried it on missions in occupied territory. Its age meant spare parts were sometimes difficult to obtain. The pistol was reliable despite being an older design. Many were acquired from various European sources. Resistance fighters also used whatever examples they could find. Its main advantage was availability rather than superior performance. Beretta Model 1934. This Italian service pistol was widely used by British agents and commandos. Large numbers were captured in North Africa and Italy. SOE supplied them to resistance groups throughout Europe. The weapon was reliable and simple to operate. It chambered 380 ACP ammunition with adequate stopping power. Italian partisans used it extensively with British support. The pistol was small enough for concealment but effective in combat. Its widespread use in Axis territories made it useful for covert operations. British forces valued captured examples highly for special operations. Beretta Model 1935. This variant was similar to the Model 1934, with minor differences. It was widely distributed to resistance groups supported by Britain. The weapon saw extensive action in Italy and the Balkans. British liaison officers carried it when working with partisans. It was effective at close range and very reliable. The pistol required minimal maintenance in field conditions. Yugoslav and Greek resistance forces received many through British supply drops. It proved perfect for guerrilla warfare operations. The Model 1935 became one of the most common resistance weapons, Ruby pistol. This Spanish-made pistol appeared in French and British service. SOE acquired large numbers for distribution to resistance fighters. The weapon was a copy of Browning designs produced in Spain. Quality varied significantly depending on manufacturer and production date. It chambered 32 ACP ammunition. French resistance forces used it extensively throughout occupied France. British agents sometimes carried it to avoid suspicion. The pistol was adequate for close-range defensive use. Its main value was sheer availability when other weapons were scarce. Astra 300. This compact Spanish pistol was favored by intelligence services. It was reliable and small enough for concealed carry. SOE agents operating undercover used it extensively. The weapon chambered 32 ACP, or 380 ACP ammunition. It was better quality than most Ruby pistols. British intelligence purchased quantities through neutral Spain. The pistol worked reliably under harsh conditions. Resistance networks throughout Europe received it through British supply channels. Its compact size made it ideal for covert operations. Colt Detective Special. This small American revolver was used by British special units. It was compact enough to hide under civilian clothing. The weapon held 6 rounds of .38 special ammunition. Intelligence officers valued it for its reliability. It was more powerful than small automatic pistols. Some RAF personnel carried it as a personal weapon. The revolver required no external safety, making it quick to use. British commandos occasionally used it on raids. Its American origin meant ammunition was readily available. Smith & Wesson Model 38. This lightweight revolver was issued to intelligence officers and aircrew. It was designed specifically for concealed carry. The weapon was significantly lighter than standard military revolvers. RAF pilots carried it in survival kits. It fired .38 special ammunition with adequate stopping power. The lightweight made extended carry comfortable. COE agents sometimes carried it on missions. Its main drawback was limited capacity of 5 rounds. The revolver proved reliable in emergency situations throughout the war. High-standard HDM. This American suppressed pistol was used by British commandos and OSS. It was a .22 caliber pistol with an integral silencer. Special forces used it for silent elimination of sentries. The weapon was extremely quiet when firing subsonic ammunition. British and American special operations units shared these weapons. It was effective only at very close range. The pistol required careful maintenance to function reliably. Its use was limited to specialized covert operations. The HDM represented Allied cooperation in developing silent weapons. Pistols used by the Royal Navy and Air Force. Webley Mark IV Naval Issue. This version was specifically issued to Royal Navy officers and ratings. It was identical to Army models, but marked for naval service. Officers carried it aboard ships and during shore operations. The weapon performed reliably in harsh maritime environments. Salt spray and humidity did not significantly affect its function. Naval landing parties used it during amphibious operations. Submarine crews carried it as a defensive weapon. The revolver was trusted for its absolute reliability at sea. Thousands served throughout the Royal Navy during the war. Enfield No. 2 Naval Issue. This revolver was widely issued aboard Royal Navy vessels. It served primarily for shipboard defense and guard duties. The weapon was simple enough for sailors with limited firearms training. It functioned reliably in the damp conditions common at sea. Naval shore establishments used it for security purposes. The revolver was lighter than the Webley models. Its main role was emergency defense rather than combat use. Sailors generally found it adequate for their limited pistol needs. Browning high-power aircrew issue. RAF aircrew received this pistol as emergency survival equipment. Pilots carried it if forced to bail out over enemy territory. The weapon's high capacity was valuable in escape and evasion situations. It was packed in aircraft survival kits. Bomber crews particularly valued it for its firepower. The pistol could help defend against enemy patrols while evading. Fighter pilots carried it in shoulder holsters. Its reliability made it trusted by aircrew throughout the war. Many pilots continued carrying it on every mission. Colt M1911 aircrew issue. Some RAF personnel carried this American pistol instead of British weapons. It was supplied through Lend-Lease arrangements. The powerful 45 ACP cartridge was valued for survival situations. Pilots operating in the Pacific Theater particularly used it. The weapon was proven reliable in all conditions. Its only drawback was limited magazine capacity. American-trained RAF pilots preferred it due to familiarity. The pistol packed significant stopping power if needed. It remained with RAF units throughout the entire war. Webley's self-loading pistol, Navy use. Limited numbers served with Royal Navy personnel. Officers sometimes purchased them privately before the war. The weapon was compact and suitable for shipboard use. It never achieved widespread naval adoption. Production constraints limited availability. Some submarine commanders favored it for its flat profile. The pistol worked reliably but remained uncommon. Its main users were officers who bought them personally. Naval service demonstrated the weapon's reliability. Smith & Wesson Victory Naval Issue. This American revolver was widely distributed throughout the Royal Navy. It became one of the most common naval sidearms. The weapon performed excellently in maritime conditions. Sailors found it more comfortable than British revolvers. It saw service on ships from destroyers to battleships. Naval commandos carried it during raids on enemy ports. The revolver's quality made it highly regarded. Many naval officers preferred it over issue Enfields. It demonstrated American industrial support for Britain. Webley MiG-5 Naval Reserve. Older Webley models were issued to Royal Naval Reserve units. They were adequate for patrol and guard duties. The weapon saw use mainly in home waters. Reserve crews defending British ports used it. It functioned adequately despite its age. Most were eventually replaced by newer revolvers. Its presence showed how Britain utilized all available weapons. Reserve forces valued any reliable sidearm they could get. FN Model 1922 aircrew use. RAF pilots occasionally carried this Belgian pistol. It was compact enough for survival kits. The weapon was reliable and simple to use. Aircrew valued anything that would aid escape and evasion. It saw limited but documented RAF service. Some pilots purchased them before the war. The pistol was adequate for emergency defense. Its role was minor compared to standard issue weapons. Colt pocket model naval use. This small American pistol was carried by some naval officers. It was purely a personal defense weapon. The compact size made it easy to carry aboard ship. It was not intended for serious combat. Officers valued it as a last resort weapon. Its main advantage was not interfering with naval duties. The pistol was reliable if needed. Most who carried it never fired it in combat. Astra 400 naval issue. Some Royal Navy units received the Spanish pistol. It was used mainly for guard and patrol duties. The powerful 9mm Largo cartridge was effective. Its heavy weight made it unpopular with sailors. Ammunition supply was a constant problem. Most examples saw limited actual use. The weapon filled temporary gaps in naval armament. It proved adequate, but was not preferred over standard issue. Obsolete and limited issue pistols. Webley Mark I obsolete issue. These very old revolvers were mostly outdated by the 1940s. Home Guard units received them during the invasion crisis. The weapons were functional, but from an earlier era. They saw almost no frontline combat service. Most remained in Britain for coastal defense. Training units used them for basic instruction. Their main value was simply being available weapons. Soldiers hoped to replace them as soon as possible. They represented Britain's desperate shortage of modern arms. Webley Mk2 obsolete issue. Similar to the Mk1, this revolver had very limited wartime utility. Home Guard formations used whatever revolvers were available. The weapon was reliable enough for guard duties. It rarely left British shores during the war. Age meant parts were increasingly difficult to find. Local defense volunteers carried it against potential invasion. Its combat value was minimal, but it filled gaps. The Mk2 showed how Britain mobilized every possible resource. Webley WW2 target pistol. This target shooting revolver saw emergency military use. It was never designed for combat purposes. Home Guard and training units used whatever was available. The weapon was accurate but too delicate for field conditions. Very few saw any actual combat. Most remained at shooting ranges for training. Its military role was purely out of desperation. The target pistol showed the depth of Britain's weapon shortages. Colt Army Special. This American revolver appeared in small numbers. It served primarily in training roles. Some Home Guard units received whatever revolvers could be found. The weapon was effective but never standard issue. Its presence was due to pre-war purchases. Most stayed in Britain throughout the war. Combat use was extremely rare. It filled temporary gaps in armament until better weapons arrived. Smith & Wesson hand ejector. This revolver appeared in limited British service. It was a commercial model acquired through various channels. Training units used it for basic pistol instruction. The weapon was accurate and reliable. Standard military revolvers were preferred when available. Its role was filling shortages during mobilization. Most examples were eventually returned to civilian use. The hand ejector demonstrated how Britain sought weapons from any source. FN Baby Browning. This extremely small pistol was used by intelligence agents. It was one of the smallest semi-automatic pistols ever made. The weapon chambered the tiny 25 ACP cartridge. SOE agents carried it as an absolute last resort weapon. It could be hidden almost anywhere on the body. Its stopping power was minimal. The pistol was reliable, but nearly useless for actual combat. Agents preferred it only when nothing else could be concealed. It represented the extreme end of concealable weapons. Browning vest pocket. This small pistol was carried by officers as a backup weapon. It was designed to fit in a vest pocket. The weapon chambered 25 ACP ammunition. It was not intended for combat use. Officers carried it purely for emergency personal defense. The pistol was reliable for its size. Its role was more psychological comfort than practical. Most who carried it never needed to fire it. It showed how officers supplemented official issue with personal weapons. Astra 300 obsolete use. Older examples appeared late in the war. They were distributed to resistance groups and home guard units. The weapon was reliable despite its age. Quality varied depending on production date. Its main value was simply being an available firearm. Most were replaced as newer weapons became available. Combat use was limited and sporadic. The pistol filled gaps until standard weapons reached all units. Beretta model 1923. This early Italian pistol rarely appeared in British service. Captured examples were occasionally used by intelligence officers. It was an older design, superseded by the model 1934. The weapon worked adequately but was uncommon. SOE agents might carry it in Italy to blend in. Its role was extremely limited. Most British forces never encountered it. The pistol represented the variety of weapons in covert operations. Various commercial revolvers. Numerous privately owned revolvers were pressed into Home Guard service. Officers and volunteers brought personal weapons. These included various British and American commercial models. Quality and condition varied enormously. They served mainly for guard and patrol duties. Most were returned to owners after the invasion threat passed. Their military use showed the desperate situation in 1940. These civilian weapons helped fill critical gaps until military production increased.